Ronald Wilson Reagan was born in 1911 in Tampico, Illinois, to Jack and Nell Reagan. Nell was a devout Catholic who taught her sons that alcoholism was a disease, because Jack was an alcoholic, as well as democratic Christian ideals. Their family struggled financially as Jack constantly moved the family around. Reagan was the quintessential high school athlete. He played football, swam, performed in school plays, and served as student body president while attending Dixon High School. He graduated in 1928 and went on to attend Eureka College, where he earned very mediocre grades. After graduating, he got a job as a sports broadcaster, despite not knowing much about it. His imagination and resonant voice made him popular, and by 1936, he was broadcasting Big Ten football and Chicago Cubs games. Reagan was noticed for his good looks and talent, and in 1937, he signed with the Warner Brothers. His breakthrough was in 1940 in the film Newt Rockne All-American. From 1937 to 1957, he appeared in 53 movies. Reagan later married and divorced Jane Wyman, who also had a career in Hollywood. During his Hollywood years, Reagan remained a Democrat, voting for Harry Truman in 1948 and against Nixon for the Senate in 1950. Reagan was already popular in Hollywood and was elected president of the Screen Actors Guild from 1947 to 1952. He used his position to identify suspected communists in the film industry. In 1952, Reagan married Nancy Davis and left a declining Hollywood career to become a spokesperson for General Electric. He also served as a TV host for the General Electric Theater program from 1954 to 62. His speeches carried a very conservative undertone and made his name a household staple. During this time, he also changed his party registration from Democratic to Republican. By that time, he was already well known in the nation for his political views, and he supported Barry Goldwater for the Republican nomination in 1964. This did not get Goldwater elected, but brought Reagan to the attention of rich Republican conservatives who began backing him in 1966. Reagan ran for the governor of California in 1970 and won. As the governor, Reagan talked a lot less conservative, but was still very, very popular. And since he was still conservative governor overall, many thought he should run for president. In 1976, he almost beat Gerald Ford for the Republican nomination. In 1980, he easily defeated George H.W. Bush to win the 1980 Republican nomination and eventually went on to win the election against Jimmy Carter. Reagan became especially well-liked due to his amicable personality. His Morning Again in America slogan and impeccable speaking abilities made him massively popular. Reagan came into office with Reaganomics, which would have increased military spending, cutting domestic spending and government-sponsored programs, and cutting federal income tax. He justified tax cuts with supplied economics, stating that economic growth is best stimulated by lowering barriers of the production on goods and services, and that would increase wage, motivating people to work even harder, increasing production. Criticisms included George Bush calling supply-side economics voodoo economics. Reagan cut food stamps, government-sponsored jobs, and Social Security benefits for the disabled. During his first term, Reagan spent $229 billion on the defense budget, a 34% increase from earlier years. He also destroyed strikers and the support of labor unions from the government. Internationally, Reagan's main focus was on the Cold War. He was deeply anti-communist and referred to the Soviet Union as the evil empire. He began the Strategic Defense Initiative, or Star Wars. Additionally, Reagan was passionate about stopping communist influences around the world. During 1983 to 1984, Reagan provided funds to Mujahideen freedom fighters in Afghanistan. Reagan's second term began in 1985 with similar foreign policy. He took a strong stance against the Muammar Gaddafi leadership in Libya. And from 1985 to 86, Reagan also sold weapons to Iran secretly. The Iran-Contra affair, a trade agreement between Iran, Nicaragua, and the U.S., became public in 1986 and destroyed Reagan's popularity. At the same time, more activity brewed between the U.S. and Soviet Union. Gorbachev came to power and seemed like a reformer with policies of perestroika and glasnost. In 1985, Reagan and Gorbachev began a diplomatic relationship, which quickly evolved into a friendship, which quickly evolved into a never mind. Regardless, the friendly relationship resulted in Gorby fever and the eventual end of the Cold War in 1988. After retiring from politics, Reagan bought a home in Bel Air, making him the new Prince of Bel Air. He was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 1994, and he slowly lost all of his mental capabilities. Reagan died in his home in 2004 at the age of 93.